Thank you to the U.S. China Policy Foundation for inviting me to join you virtually to your 26th anniversary celebration. Although we cannot celebrate in person this year, I look forward to getting together with you in person next year. Since 1995, the U.S. China Policy Foundation has been committed to its goal of building bridges and mutual understanding between the U.S. and China through people-to-people diplomacy, education, engagement, cultural exchanges, and dialogue. As co-founder and co-chair of the bipartisan U.S. China Working Group, I've been working for the past 16 years to get more members and staff to meet, discuss, and learn about China and the bilateral relationship. But the U.S.-China relationship does not just matter in Washington, D.C. It matters in my state of Washington State and across communities throughout the country. For example, in my home state of Washington, we are the most trade-dependent state in the country, and China is Washington State's largest trading partner in everything from airplanes to cherries. However, the COVID-19 pandemic has had a devastating effect on Washington's economy and on trade. Washington's exports to China were down from $14.6 billion in 2018 to $3 billion in 2020. So while we are working to defeat the pandemic, we have not yet defeated it. And while the economy is recovering, it is not yet fully recovered. In fact, the public health response in the United States, including the response to the Omicron variant, will help lead the U.S. economic recovery. Now, during the last 5 years in Congress, distinct species of China hawks have started to flock together. And a clear consensus view in Congress is that China is a strategic competitor. However, although differences remain among members on how they see and how we ought to respond to China's growing economic and military power and its diplomatic influence, it is important to note that the way members have come together are different as well. For instance, in Congress, there are punishers who seek to harm China. There are decouplers who just wish to sever economic relationships with China, either in whole or in part. And there are salvagers, like myself, who view engagement with China as necessary to achieve U.S. policy goals. So while there is still room for dialogue, there are two areas where Congress gives the Biden administration very little wiggle room: on human rights and on the security of the technological supply chain. Rightly, the consensus in Congress is that U.S. leadership in these spaces is central to U.S. values, national security, and prosperity. So while the consensus on China in the U.S. Congress has shifted, Congress still must think more broadly about its agenda with regards to China. To that end, this week, I released my updated China white paper, which outlines what a U.S.-China strategy could look like. And I invite you to check out the white paper on my website at larsen.house.gov. Instead of thinking just defensively, the U.S. needs to have a proactive agenda that increases U.S. competitiveness. And I support a comprehensive China strategy oriented around four guiding principles. Recognizing there are existing areas of conflict and competition. Let's just call things what they are. Second, to expand the economic playbook to include offensive measures so that U.S. is more competitive, such as the passage of the recent infrastructure law, which is a major long-term investment in U.S. workers and the U.S. economy. Third, let's identify areas where bilateral cooperation is in both nations' interests. And fourth, let's just get our own house in order. That includes passing the Build Back Better Act to support the U.S. economy and the U.S. workforce, and passing some version of the U.S. Innovation and Competition Act. These are good additional steps. So I'll continue to promote this broader strategy to my colleagues in Congress and to all of you who are critical stakeholders in this relationship. In conclusion, just let me say the U.S.-China relationship is complex. It can only grow and improve through engagement and dedication. Every relationship takes a lot of work, and it's important to focus on the actions the U.S. can take to move the relationship forward. But these small efforts can only help to strengthen the bilateral relationship and build us towards larger efforts. So I want to thank you again for inviting me to join you virtually, and congratulations on 26 years of building understanding between the U.S. and China. Thanks.